cause that be natural.
Lady
I ain't
D.
looking tacky. I keep my game tactful.
Yo.
Yeah, I'm so nappy. Cause that be natural.
The infamous.
I ain't looking tacky cause I keep my game tactful.
I'm so pretty, I'm so fabu, I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoo, stuck in these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a typhoon. Y'all this jersey on that cartoon and I'm still on top.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Afros and Baby Hairs, and thank you for joining me in the reading room once again for book review number 19, and this will be on Murderville 1 by Ashley and Jaquavis. So if you're interested in hearing details on this book as well as my thoughts and opinions, then please stay tuned. I am not and do not encourage or promote this book to anyone who is under the age of 18. If you are under the age of 18, then please get your parents' consent and or supervision before reading this book. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's get into this book review. So yeah guys, I want to start off by reading the back of the book, and it reads, two children from Sierra Leone, Liberty and Ashai, are brought together by chance only to be forced apart by fate. Ashley and Jaquavis delivered this classic love story set against modern life's most tragic realities. As Liberty lies dying, Ashai walks her through their past, reliving their journeys through the streets. Their story will take them from an arranged marriage, Mexico's drug cartel, child brothels, hustling in Detroit, to escaping LA's underworld. But ultimately, this is a story of love and redemption that will leave you breathless from the first page until the unpredictable and mind-blowing ending. Let me tell you about the characters. We have Ashai, who is a son of a rebel leader from Sierra Leone. You have Liberty, who is a girl who is captured by the rebel army. You have Ezekiel, who's the father of Ashai and the rebel leader. You have Dr. Simmons, who is Liberty's doctor. You have Miss Beth, who is a trafficking scout. You have Abia, who is the madame of the sex trafficking ring. You have Baron Montgomery, who is a kingpin from the Midwest, and his wife Willow. You also have Bonsai, a Canadian. Trixie, who is Liberty's homegirl. You have Nico, who's Ashai's cousin that oversees a trap house. Bunny, who is a stripper that Nico met. You have Jenny, who is actually Ashai's girlfriend for a short amount of time. You have Samad, who is a new Coke Connect in LA. You have Don Clarkston, who is a family attorney. Big Ray, who is the owner of a strip club, and he actually partnered with Baron to buy the strip club. And then you have Dr. Kapoor, who is a doctor on Samad's payroll. Now getting into the story. This book starts off in Sierra Leone, Africa, where we are introduced to Ashai and Ezekiel. Ashai is about to murder his first victim at the request of his father. This scene is going on in the middle of the rebels attacking villages, and Ashai's father is the leader of these rebels. Ashai is about 12 years old. Anyway, Ashai is able to muster up the nerve to shoot the man. However, he did not kill him, so his father had to complete the task. Next, the rebels end up killing the mother and father of this little 10-year-old girl, and then decide to take her as a sex slave. Ashai thought she was pretty and wanted to protect her. We discovered that Ashai was basically dreaming about the events that he had experienced 13 years ago. He was now about 25 and in a hospital by his lady's side. His lady is Liberty, who has a heart condition and only has about a month left to live. She is in need of a heart transplant. However, there aren't any donors that match at this time. So Liberty is the little girl that her parents were killed, and that's the girl that they took as the sex slave. So she is Ashai's girlfriend in the present. Ashai has gotten permission from the doctors to take Liberty home because they know she would rather die peacefully there. When Ashai got her home after a bubble bath together, she requested that he tell her life story as she lie in bed. So he got himself some wine and a box of Kleenex and began to tell the story. His village was burned down. The women and children were raped, tortured, and murdered. Liberty sat in the back of the Jeep, surrounded by gunmen, not much older than her, and there were others in the Jeep being held captive. They drove for about 5 hours until reaching their destination. That they needed someone to cook and clean, and that is what Liberty was brought there to do. He knew that Ashai liked her and needed him to make Liberty feel comfortable. However, Ezekiel was a pedophile and actually had other plans for Liberty besides cooking and cleaning. Ashai was too young to understand that at that time. However, he was obliged to get to know Liberty. Ashai and Liberty became best friends over the next few weeks until one day Ezekiel sent Ashai off to get wood and wouldn't let Liberty go with him. Ashai headed off, but remembered that he had left his axe, so he turned around and headed back. When he got there, he heard Liberty's screams coming from inside the hut. When he rushed inside, he saw his father trying to take advantage of her. Ultimately, he ended up hitting his dad with the axe in the back. Then he and Liberty ran away. They ended up a couple of cities over and attempted to steal some tomatoes. Somehow they got caught up with this blonde-haired, blue-eyed lady named Miss Beth, claiming that she had food and was loading more children on the barge to collect food. So upon Liberty's request, they loaded the boat. However, if they would have been able to read, they would have seen the words on the side of the boat that read Murderville. Miss Beth whispered to Liberty that they travel all across the world and do charity work for kids. Upon boarding the ship, Ashai and Liberty saw other children on rides having fun, almost like an amusement park. But once they got on the ship and the doors closed behind them, there were armed guards waiting and instructing them to the lowest deck. Ashai and Liberty were torn apart, and Ashai tried to protect her. He ended up getting his face sliced open. They ended up taking Liberty to a floor above the floor that Ashai was on because she was valuable due to her beauty. Ashai ended up on the lowest deck where children from the ages of 8 to 15 were being kept and were treated like animals. No food or water for 3 days, and they just pooped and urinated where they sat. They were also vomiting due to the smell. 3 days of travel, they ended up in Mexico at a warehouse. They had been human trafficked and were made to work the coca fields and be prostituted. The organization was ran by El Garza. Partner, Liberty was too young to be prostituted, so she definitely had to work the fields and learn the business. However, she wasn't doing well in the fields and didn't want to learn the business. But the rules were if you don't work, you don't eat. So Liberty hadn't eaten in a while, so she was losing weight. So eventually a woman by the name of Abia came to talk to her. She had been trafficked as well from her home in Dubai at a very young age and was brought there. And she explained to Liberty that there was no leaving. And if she wanted to survive, she had to get with the program. Abia was washed up, but she was able to work her way up in the business from prostitution to brothel, and then from brothel to madame. Liberty responded to Abia by asking for a shot. Abia ended up threatening Liberty to get with the program or get murked because they did not tolerate disobedience. Months had passed and Ashai linked up with a clique of boys from the warehouse on the weekends to rob wealthy tourists. They still worked the fields during the week, but the weekends were used to rob unsuspecting victims. Anyway, on this particular weekend, they spotted a young, beautiful lady dipped in diamonds, carrying a handbag and a shopping bag, and figured she was a perfect target. So since Ashai was the youngest and the fastest, he did the snatching. So the clique of boys hid behind the dumpsters and waited for the perfect time. Once Ashai amped himself up, he took off running towards the lady, snatching her bags and running off. The lady yelled and chased him. Ashai ended up stepping into a pothole and lost his balance, giving the lady an opportunity to catch up to him. She grabbed his collar and asked for her bags back. And that's when the other elder boys ganged up on her from behind the dumpsters. They all attempted to rape the woman, even though Ashai told them to leave her alone. After they ripped the woman's shirt off, soon thereafter, her husband, Baron Montgomery, saved her. He was a kingpin from the Midwest. He ended up killing all of the boys except Ashai, only because his wife told him that Ashai was actually trying to protect her. They tried to pay Ashai, but he refused the money, so they offered to buy him dinner. Over dinner, they discovered that Ashai was from Sierra Leone, Africa, which is where Willow, Baron's wife, was from. She had been a sex slave for the Garza family as well many years ago until Baron bought her freedom from Garza. They ended up going to talk to Garza about Ashai since Baron and Garza had a cocaine business relationship. They ended up bringing Ashai back to the States with them. Liberty had been raped by a few of the workers that barged into her room. She tried to fight back, but ended up getting her face slapped so hard that she thought her neck was broken. And she was slung into the metal bed and raped. She felt as though her pelvic bone was broken. She ended up allowing her mind to take her away from what was happening to her. Then Ashai ended up having a meeting with a Canadian by the name of Banzai. They met on Baron's estate, and Banzai was a long-time connect that was trying to take over a piece of Baron's territory. Ashai was there because Baron had been grooming Ashai since the day he brought him home 8 years ago. So Ashai attended all the meetings, legal or illegal. Anyway, Banzai ended up insulting Baron, and Ashai took offense. He wanted to murk Banzai for the racist remarks he said on their property. However, Baron kept signaling for Ashai to calm down. Either way, Baron ended up offering his longtime connect his favorite drink before they departed, which was cognac. As they were leaving, Banzai collapsed by the pool and his bodyguard dropped to his knees to assist him. Meanwhile, Baron's butler creeped up on the bodyguard with his silencer and deaded the bodyguard too. Baron explained to Ashai that real G's move in silence. He told him the drink he had gave Banzai was black tea, potent enough to dead an entire army, and Banzai had gulped it down. Later, we met Ashai's girlfriend by the name of Jenny, who was a full-blooded Latina. She had broken into his apartment and was waiting for him in a red piece of lingerie. He had thought of Liberty over the years and felt guilty about leaving her behind, but hoped she was okay. She had been forced to prostitute since the age of 10, and now 8 years later, she is a veteran. She had been given an unloaded .22 to protect herself if any John tried to get over, and it had protected her from a few situations. Liberty also used a convenience store to clean herself up in their bathroom because the clerk had a crush on her. She stashed any extra money she made off of her tricks inside the tank of the toilet. She was saving money there so that if one day she found a way out, she would have enough to buy a ticket and to support her habit. Liberty had become a heroin and X-pill addict. Liberty also was very close to one of the other girls being sex trafficked as well. Her name was Trixie, and she was transsexual, actually forced to be, but now embraced it. While the girls worked, the shepherds watched over them until the black van showed up to take them back to the warehouse. They didn't know the names of anyone who ran the operation. They just addressed them all as shepherd. That way, if anyone ever got caught, they wouldn't be able to name names. Either way, the girls had to make a quota of 500 a night in order for them to stay alive as well as eat. Liberty ended up finally getting chosen to be a part of the brothel after 8 years. Abia was actually waiting on Liberty to get tough and less sensitive. And after getting sick and tired of the lifestyle, she finally developed an attitude. So she was finally selected. However, her new bestie, Trixie, was not. So they hugged and cried and then were snatched apart. However, Trixie ended up snatching one of the guards' assault rifles and shooting up the place, then running as well as many other girls, including Liberty. They were all in panties and bras, so Liberty ended up going to the store where she cleaned up and was stashing her money in the tank of the toilet. The store clerk gave her the key, and when she got to the toilet, she discovered all of her stash had been taken. She figured it was Trixie because she was the only other person that knew about it besides the store clerk. Either way, one gave her a jumpsuit or some sweatpants to put on, and as she walked out of the store, Abby was there waiting in a black limo. Abby told Liberty that the brothel was by choice, and she wanted to show her what the lifestyle had to offer before making a decision. She offered Liberty a plate of heroin, and they had a sexcapade in the back of the limo. Abia ended up taking Liberty to the mansion where 20 other girls lived and had their own master suite, glam squad, wardrobe, and monthly stipend for updating their wardrobe. She told Liberty the split was 60-40 and that they only dealt with high-end clients. Once Liberty was cleaned up and made over, she introduced her to the other girls. 10 were vets, 10 were new, and gave her a choice to leave. And, she told her she could either be an ordinary nobody or stay and live in luxury. Liberty finally said yes, even though she was overwhelmed by how quickly her life had changed. Ashai went by the project's trap house to pick up money from his cousin Nico. Ashai had to end up putting a girl out of the cash room because Nico had disobeyed Baron's orders of no one being in the cash room but Ashai and Nico. Yet there Nico was, sitting and smiling, counting money, while a stripper named Bunny sat and watched. We find out in this scene that Baron and Ashai are about to head out to LA to meet a new connect, so Nico would have to drop the money off to Willow, Ashai's mother, while they are not in town. We also find out that Nico is jealous of Ashai and of the position of power that Ashai is in. On the flight to LA, Baron and Ashai had a conversation about Ashai's future. Baron knew that Ashai would receive his degree in a couple of weeks, and he wanted to know which path Ashai wanted to take. He also wanted Ashai to know that he would stand behind him no matter what. Of course, Ashai chose to take the throne because he learned everything from Baron. He had been under his wing since he was 12, so Baron decided then and there to hand over the business to Ashai. Once they arrived to the drug kingpin Samad's estate, the gentlemen introduced themselves and then eventually got down to business. They began negotiations, and Ashai ended up using his business smarts and was able to get Samad to lower his price. He came up with a strategy based on observation. Of course, once Samad folded, both Baron and Samad were impressed with Ashai. The men decided also to attend the gentleman's ball. Liberty had moved on up in the 2 months she had been a part of the brothel. She bought herself an Audi, paid for it in full, and couldn't even drive. She had clients in rotation and enjoyed all of the finer things in life. In this scene, she is at a restaurant to meet with a 60-year-old judge who needed companionship. Her price was set at $5,000 per night. Liberty had gotten to the point she only came back to the mansion to shower in between clients. She now looked at her position as that of a physician. Anyway, in the wee hours of the morning, she crept into the mansion and was startled by Abia. Liberty ended up spilling the contents of her purse onto the floor, and Abia saw the bag of heroin. Abia knew that there was no way for Liberty to keep up what she was doing other than by getting high. She warned Liberty to slow down before she crashed and burned, told her she wasn't walking the street anymore and no longer needed the drug to cope. She also offered to help wean Liberty off of the drug. Liberty refused and reminded her that people like her were the ones who got her addicted at the age of 10 and that she had no right to judge her. Abia knew Liberty was right, but didn't want Liberty to ruin her elite brothel with a sloppy drug addiction. She reminded Liberty that the gentleman's ball was coming up and that she needed to clean herself up if she wanted to get chosen by one of those multimillionaires and never have to lay on her back again. Ashai graduated with his mother and father right there by his side. He kissed Willow after getting his diploma because he definitely owed all of his success to her for the encouragement. They ended up throwing him a surprise party and everyone showed up, even the ones from the hood. Next day, Baron and Ashai flew out to LA for the gentleman's ball. The men entered the location from the back via red carpet, were handed cigars and masks from the hostesses, and then eventually fans for the bidding on the girls from the brothel. Every man in attendance was a multimillionaire, no matter how he earned it. Abia sent her girls out one by one to be bidded on. They were wearing lingerie. She saved Liberty for last, and Ashai remembered her face. He told his dad he wanted her. Every man in the audience was bidding on Liberty until the bidding got too high. Eventually, the only two left bidding was Samad and Baron. The bidding got up to $500,000, and Baron wasn't willing to spend that for one girl for one night. Samad wasn't planning on giving up anyway. Ashai was saddened and began to devise a plan to get Liberty back. Liberty back to his massive estate. At first, she didn't know what to do or expect. She then remembered she had done this a few times before, as she waited nervously on Samad to retrieve her from the great room. Eventually, he did. They talked briefly, then headed to the kitchen where he cooked her a homemade Persian meal from scratch, even though he had several chefs available. Liberty thought that Samad was very unattractive and too skinny. However, she did like that he was actually trying to impress her. He told her this was her new home, she could have anything she wanted, and that he wanted her to have his sons. Liberty had never thought about children or that she would ever have this life, but since the man paid $500,000, she agreed. She found out that he wanted a companion and that Samad was not trying to seduce her. Not that night anyway. He told her he wanted her to grow to love him and to be with him. When she asked about her old things at her old mansion, he told her she didn't need those things. The estate was now hers. She was getting a new wardrobe custom fitted for her, and she would have a driver to drive her around. He also showed her where she would be sleeping. Morning, Liberty woke up to two women in between her legs with doctor's mask on, trying to get her feet into stirrups. Samad had ordered the doctor to do a pap smear on Liberty to check for STDs and cervical cancer without her permission. Liberty was upset, especially when he walked in the room while she was spread open. The doctors told him that she looked good down there, considering her lifestyle. However, they still had to get the specimen retrieved from her cervix to a lab to be tested. Samad knew that Liberty was upset, so he took her to see all the new jewelry he had gotten for her. Once he explained to her why he had her checked. The long list of men she had sex with, the heroin addiction, and the whole warehouse lifestyle, he knew all about it. Liberty had never had unprotected sex, but Samad had sex with her in the jewelry closet without protection because he wanted children. Once they were done, he told Liberty to get a shower and come to the garment room on the west wing. She put on her kimono style robe, and when she got to the garment room, there Samad stood with the burqa and hijab. He told her this is what she could wear on the outside, and on the inside only the hijab. Liberty was not feeling it. She told Samad she was a Muslim. He told her the only thing she could worship in that house was Allah and him. I had a formal get-together one evening at his home. He wanted Liberty to be seen and not heard, basically. She really had no problem with that, being that she had on a burqa and a hijab. No one really wanted to socialize with her. The president came on the television giving a speech, and I think it was Obama at this time, and the conversation of the guests turned to him. Eventually, Samad caught Liberty staying at the television for too long, and when the guests left, he told her he would never give her up and that she would only have eyes for him. The next day, Liberty found out what he meant because he removed all the television from the mansion. Over the next six months, he became overly obsessive, controlling, possessive, and strict. He also obsessed with getting her pregnant with a son. Liberty was suffocating because although he gave her everything she needed, she was watched and supervised 24/7. He always had his men to chauffeur her. He never gave her money, and he always checked her bags to ensure she didn't buy things that he didn't approve of. It got to the point where Liberty faked sick just to get away from him to visit a doctor that was on Samad's payroll, but Liberty was not going to be forced to have his baby. Once she went to the doctor, she began to plead with the doctor, and by the doctor being a woman and foreign to this country, she had to sympathize with Liberty. The doc knew that Samad had purchased her, and she knew exactly why. She ended up giving Liberty an injection into her arm to keep her from getting pregnant for up to 5 years. She also told Liberty never to mention her name and never to come back. 6 months had passed and Samad was growing tired of Liberty. At first he thought it was him, but discovered that it wasn't. One night Liberty took the keys to the office that he basically lived in and made sure to keep her out of, and she went inside. In the middle of the night, she had to find out what Samad was hiding. Finally, she discovered a shrine of all the women that Samad had purchased from Abia over the years, and they all died after about a year of being with Samad. So with no friends, no family, and nowhere to go, no one would look for those girls or discover that they were murdered. Liberty then realized that Samad was going to murder her as well, especially if she didn't have him a child. She began to think about taking him out, but knew that she couldn't, so she began to think about running away. Shy had hustled hard to get rid of the work so that he could return to LA to re-up, but in all actuality, he had only thought of Liberty and wanted desperately to get her back. He didn't even want his current girlfriend Jenny around anymore. He fell in love with Liberty when they were children, and when she was ripped away from him, he closed off his heart to love. But when he saw her again, all of his feelings and emotions arose again. Either way, he made the arrangements after running it by his father, who was suspect of Asha's plans. Either way, Asha made it to LA the next day and was at Samad's estate, anticipating Liberty's presence. However, Samad had sent her to run errands for a little while the men discussed business. When Liberty returned, she recognized Asha and thought her eyes were playing tricks on her. They didn't let it be known to Samad that they knew each other, but they did still definitely have a connection and could read one another. Liberty was blown away by the man Asha had become, and Asha was furious at how Samad was treating Liberty. After about an hour of listening to Samad and hearing Samad trying to divide and conquer Asha and Baron, Asha was feeling like maybe doing business with Samad wasn't such a good idea after seeing what type of man he really was. Asha excused himself to the restroom just so he could speak with Liberty privately. She was crying uncontrollably when he found her in her room wearing a lace bra and slip. He thought she was beautiful in her natural state. When he called her name, they embraced, and then she began telling him about the shrine of women that she had discovered and how Samad had killed them and was going to kill her. She begged Asha not to leave her, and he promised her he wouldn't leave LA without her. He asked her, when does Samad ever leave? She told him he never leaves and watches over her constantly. The only time he leaves is for morning jogging. She told him the time, and he promised her that he would come back for her. The next day, Asha came back to the estate and told the servants that Samad was expecting him. They let him in to wait in the great room. As soon as they took off to finish their work, Asha ran to find Liberty. She was upstairs in street clothes and had packed some items that weren't Muslim garb, and they ran out to the car Asha had waiting. Once in the car, Asha gave Liberty a weapon, and then they pulled off only for them to be flooded with bullets. Asha shot back as they backed into a department store. After realizing that the driver's head had been practically blown off, they decided to run out of the back of the store to blend in with other people and were able to catch a cab to the private strip where the jet was. Once on the jet, they realized the pilots had been shot. Soon thereafter, Samad pulled up with his goons. What Samad didn't know was that Asha had a marksman's aim and was a killer at heart. He shot all of Samad's men as Samad tried to reason with him, asking him was he going to do all this for a woman, and asked him about his father. Asha made Samad drop to his knees and throw him the keys to the car that he had came in. After Samad threatened to hunt them down, Asha knocked him out with the butt of the gun, and then he and Liberty drove to the nearest bus station. Once they made it back to Detroit, Baron was livid with Asha. He had never raised his voice at his son, but this night he did. He told him he would never help him with this whore, and if he left with her, he would be cut off. Asha ended up telling his mother that Liberty was all he could think about since the day they brought him home. He thought that they would help her like they did him. That's when his mother realized that Liberty was from his past and was forced into the lifestyle, but Ashai was gone out the door and sped off with Liberty. Ashai ended up driving up north to their family's cabin. It was off the radar and no one knew about it but family. It was about 5 hours from Detroit. He told Liberty they were going to lay low there for a couple of weeks. Soon he realized that they needed food, supplies, and clothes, and all he had was the cash in his pockets. So he called the only person he trusted to go to his house and get the money out of his safe, and that was Nico. Nico drove out and brought the money. He had already heard about Baron and Ashai's fallout over the girl, so he had to see her. However, she was asleep in her panties and bra, but Nico admired her body, almost a little too much. He did not notice her face, however. The dudes chopped it up for a second, then Nico headed out after telling Ashai that he wouldn't utter a word about his whereabouts. Willow was worried sick, and she went back and forth trying to reason with him. Baron also assured Willow that Ashai could handle his own and wasn't an easy mark. If Samad thought so, he had another thing coming. She told Baron that Liberty may have been forced into the lifestyle, but Baron still felt like she wasn't good enough for Ashai. Willow continued to worry on into the night about Ashai because he wasn't answering her calls. So she got up and called Nico. Nico tried to lie to her about not knowing Ashai's whereabouts, but she smelled the lie right through the phone and threatened to beat Nico's butt if he didn't tell her the truth. So Nico told her where they were, and she got up, grabbed the keys, and headed out there while Baron was asleep. Ashai headed to go out and get supplies while Liberty was sleeping. She was exhausted from the lifestyle and just wanted to sleep. So Ashai left her there and told her not to let anyone in. When she finally woke up, she tried to familiarize herself with her surroundings. So she got up to check out the cabin. She felt a little jealous of Ashai because he had been given a better life than she had. She ended up getting the photo albums and going through them. Soon thereafter, she heard someone entering the cabin, and of course she thought it was Ashai, but to her surprise it was Willow, Ashai's mom. The ladies talked for a while, and Willow fell in love with Liberty. She knew that Liberty was his soulmate. She knew that Liberty loved her son dearly, and she knew that Liberty was beautiful inside and out. Liberty told her about her past, and Willow understood, being that she had been through a similar situation. Ashai slipped in as the ladies was talking, and he thought he was looking at the two most beautiful women in the world. Willow spoke with Ashai about Baron and about the situation with Samad. Then she prepared to leave. Ashai told her to stay because of the storm that was coming their way, but she refused. She wanted to get back to Baron during a time like this. She knew he needed her. So Ashai told her his car would make it through the storm better than her Mercedes would. So he told her to take his car. They walked her out and watched her drive off. Suddenly, Ashai remembered that the bag of money Nico brought was in the back seat. So he tried to wave his mother down, and then the car exploded and dollars were flying everywhere. Ashai made a call to Samad just to threaten him. It's passed, and Baron was about to bury his wife. He had arranged for his goons to have Samad head on a platter by midnight. Baron was grieving his wife, but he kept his composure. Soon Nico was by his side, feeling guilty as ever because he had made the call to Samad to take Ashai out and never intended for his aunt to be murdered. Then at the funeral, when Baron was saying his goodbyes over Willow's closed casket, Nico interrupted him to let him know that Ashai had arrived. Either way, Baron had given orders to his guards that Ashai was not welcome and was not to come in. The guards respected both men and really didn't want to be in the middle of their family disagreement. However, they didn't attempt to touch Ashai. Baron soon came face to face, man to man, at the door of the church to let him know that they were no longer family and that he couldn't enter. Although Baron didn't feel that way on the inside, because on the inside he really felt like he needed Ashai, and Ashai was the only person who felt how he felt as well. And Ashai was the only family he had left. Either way, Ashai was angry and hurt that his dad had shunned him and wouldn't let him in to pay his respects to his mother. So he left after he shunned Baron right back. Baron was just trying to be a man of his word by standing on what he had said. But on the inside, he was torn and wanted to place the blame on Ashai for his wife getting killed. Ashai returned to Liberty, and eventually they made love, because for her, she felt like everything was happening to Ashai because of her, and she didn't have anything else to give him. Ashai had his reservations about her past that had him hesitant to sleep with her, but eventually he gave in, I guess because he loved her so much. Back at the estate, after the funeral, people gathered there to celebrate Willow's life. Baron had been clenching his cell phone, waiting for the call from the goons that were ordered to murk Samad. After time passed, the guy showed up to his door to deliver more of Willow's favorite flowers. All Baron thought was that the church went all out for Willow because they had already filled the church with her favorite flower. Now they were filling her home with more. The boy had brought 10 vases full of flowers. After the flowers were brought inside, Baron's phone rang, and he was sure that it was his goons calling. So he went in his office to take the call. However, it was Samad calling to let him know his goons were unsuccessful, but he wanted to send his condolences to him about his wife, and he hoped he liked the flowers that were delivered to him. Then Samad hung up. Immediately afterwards, he heard screams, so he ran back to the area everyone was gathered, only to discover he had been raided. The lead officer showed him the warrant, and Baron knew that he never brought work to his estate, so he was sure that they wouldn't find anything. So when the cops headed to search his home, they walked straight to the vases of flowers Samad had sent and cracked them open. All 10 vases held a kilo of cocaine, so Baron was arrested right then and there. Samad had set him up. Ashai was running low on funds since majority of his money blew up in the car with his mom, so he was stuck trying to figure out how they were going to continue to run from Samad with no money. They were in a hotel room for the time being as he thought about the situation. His cell phone rang, and to his surprise, it was their family attorney, Don Clarkston. So he answered the phone, and Don told him about what happened to his father. Ashai was shocked because he knew that his father never kept weight at home. The attorney told him that he would need $50,000 as a retainer, and that Baron told him that Ashai was the only one who could get the money and knew where to get it from. Ashai also discovered that his father didn't have a bond because he was a flight risk. Ashai and Liberty headed to his father's estate. Once they pulled up, he ran inside and left Liberty in the car. While he went to retrieve the money from the safe, Liberty was out there being basically terrorized. Someone pulled up and was continuously smashing their car into theirs. The windows of the intruder's car was tinted, so she couldn't see who it was. After this went on so long, she decided to lay on the horn so that Ashai would know something was up. Ashai discovered that the safe was completely empty except for his father's loaded pistol. He knew no one else had the code to the safe besides Nico. He had given it to Nico when they went out of town to LA the first time to meet Samad. Ashai grabbed the gun and ran out of the house because he heard the horn and he knew Liberty was in trouble. Ashai came out of the house blasting until the intruder backed out and drove off. He totaled that car that Liberty and Ashai came in, so Ashai made sure Liberty was okay, and then they headed to his father's 5-car garage to pick up another vehicle. Next stop was Nico, and because of this stunt Nico pulled, Ashai started to put the pieces of the puzzle together and realized Nico was the rat in their crew. He was at a strip club making it rain, popping bottles and living it up. Most of the dancers were turned off by his antics because he didn't handle himself like a boss. He was just sloppy, thirsty, and way too flashy. Most of the dancers are more bosses than he displayed. Ashai was off in the cut watching Nico because he had already devised a plan and knew how Nico got down. Before Nico even made it to the club, Ashai had talked to Big Ray, the club owner, and also business partner of Baron. Nico had no idea that he was spending his uncle's stolen money in a club his uncle partially owned. Anyway, Nico had hired himself a couple of reckless young goons to protect him, but Big Ray had been ordered to keep them preoccupied, so he had his best girl and a few of her girls to entertain them. Nico was busy watching each stripper that got on stage looking for the perfect one to smash. As soon as the one he wanted got on stage, he flagged the waitress with a $50 bill and told her he wanted the girl on stage for a private dance. The waitress took the money and told him new girls didn't do private dances, but she would see what she could do. The two of them ended up in a private room. The dancer danced for him and got him out of his pants. She grabbed his gun and pointed at him as a shot entered the room. The dancer was actually Liberty. Nico didn't recognize her because he never saw her face when he came out to the cabin. A shot asked Nico where was his father's $1 million stash. Nico began looking around for his goons, but they never showed up. A shot told him that they were preoccupied right now. Nico began explaining that he only took the money to keep it safe from the feds. A shot threw him his pants and told him to take him to the money. He also played nice to Nico so that he would take him to the stash, but the whole time he had a pistol in the front of his hoodie. A shot wrapped his arm around Nico's neck as they walked out and told him he shouldn't be flashing the money up in the club like that, and that they had taught him better than that. Nico replied that all the money was in the trunk, which pissed the shot all the way off, but he never changed his demeanor in front of Nico. When Nico popped the trunk, a shot told him he wanted that 9mm he kept in his trunk too. Nico did think about grabbing the 9 and taking the shot out, but he quickly dropped the gun in the duffel bag with the money and handed the bag to a shot. As soon as Nico handed him the bag, a shot dropped him where he stood and hopped in the whip that Liberty was waiting in. Shot and Liberty had gotten another hotel room. Once inside, he tossed the duffel bag on the bed and told her to look inside. She got so excited when she saw all the money and asked the shot how much was it. He said he didn't know and told her to count it. She threw some of the money up in the air so that it could fall like rain. Then a shot told her that it wasn't theirs but was his father's, and he needed to take some to the lawyer and put the rest to the street. A shot had a plan to hustle day and night to make his father's money back and to get himself straight so that he could take care of Liberty and give her the life she deserved. He set out to do. Every day they changed hotels and every day he hustled. He was able to get a connect in Miami, and he was able to still hold down Barron's organization while he was locked up. He did in fact go pay the attorney and told the attorney to tell his father he would be there to visit him soon and that he was setting up an offshore account for him. As the weeks passed, although Ashai wasn't spending much time with Liberty, he noticed that she was sleeping and tired a lot. He felt like she was going into a depression, having to change hotels every day and sit alone in the room, unable to get out due to the fear of Samad or his goons attacking her. One day, when Ashai returned to the hotel room with food and good news to share with Liberty, he didn't see her, nor was she responding to his calls. Eventually, he found her on the floor, passed out. He woke her up to find out what had happened and who did this to her, only for her to reveal that she had been tired and dizzy and must have fainted. A few months had passed and Ashai had stacked over $2 million and had secretly bought them a house. He came to the hotel room to find Liberty tired and sleepy. He ended up proposing to her and told her about the house as well. They made love, but in the midst of it all, Liberty's body went limp. She had to be rushed to the hospital. There she found out about her failing heart. Ashai was angry and heartbroken. Liberty needed a transplant. Ashai went to visit Barron at the police station. However, Barron was not happy to see Ashai. He placed all the blame on Ashai. Even though Barron disowned Ashai told him he would come to see him regularly because he knew his mother would want them to mend their relationship. The day of Barron's trial, he was kidnapped by Samad's goon, and then he was taken to Samad. Samad apologized to Barron about his wife, telling him that he never meant to hurt her. Then Samad played Barron by telling him Ashai was the one planning to kill him and taking over. He is the one who told him about the cabin up north, ultimately placing the blame on Ashai for everything Nico actually did. Barron was unable to think clearly, but he thought about it and it kind of made sense. Samad wanted Ashai and Liberty to pay for crossing him and needed Barron to reel them in. Barron agreed because he knew that if he didn't, Samad would kill him right then and there. And if he did, Samad would get him out of the country safely to anywhere he wanted to go. Shy were at the courthouse waiting for Baron's trial, and suddenly Shy got a phone call from Baron. He told him that he escaped from prison and needed help from Shy. He also told him he was at one of the trap houses hiding out. Either way, Shy and Liberty took off to go help Baron, unknowingly walking into a trap set up by Samad. So upon entering the trap house, Shy and Liberty were attacked. Samad tied Liberty to a chair with a rope facing Shy, and Shy was hanging from the ceiling, being beaten every day with a crowbar in front of Liberty. He wanted to make them suffer for crossing him before he ended their lives. Meanwhile, Baron was in Mexico feeling guilty for doing his son like that. He felt like everything was his fault because he could have showed Shy a different life, but he introduced him to this world and he had created a monster. Baron looked at the pictures around the house that the three of them had taken over the years when they were a happy family, and he knew he had to right his wrongs with his son. So he called on the murder mamas to go handle Samad and rescue Shy and Liberty. The murder mamas stepped on Samad's property, taking out everything in sight, all the goons, all the security, everybody, until they got to the room Liberty and Shy were being tortured in. They shot the rope, freeing Shy. He untied Liberty, and the murder mamas gave him a gun to take out Samad. He shot Samad dead in the eye. Once they were in the SUV, he told Liberty that Baron had sent the murder mamas to save them, and now it was time for them to go live in their new home. The next pointer, this is back to the present day. Shy had finished drinking his black tea, in which he told Liberty it was cognac. So at this point, both of them were dying together. He lay in the bed next to her, feeling his heart slow down. Both their bodies was failing them as they laid in each other's arms, as they closed their eyes, wanting to hold on to each other until their last breath. Thoughts and opinion on this particular book is this book was an emotional roller coaster for me. This book started off a bit confusing, and then things started to make sense, but this was definitely a tearjerker. I cried a couple of times while reading this, and for multiple reasons. It's just the reality of what's going on around the world to innocent people. It's sad and devastating, and to experience what some may be facing and going through as we take our lives for granted or complain about, minor issues. This book is a true wake-up call, a true romance, a true example of devotion and loyalty. This was a really good read by Ashley Jaquavis, and I can't wait to read book 2. I knew that Nico was behind the setups because he displayed disloyalty and jealousy towards Shy as soon as we were introduced to him in the book. Just goes to show the lengths people would take out of jealousy and greed. Shocked at how Baron treated Liberty when his wife Willow came from the same background. I guess he forgot his wife was purchased from the brothel in Mexico, being the reason they visited there every year and set up a foundation for the ones who were able to escape. The next pointer is, I did not like how Baron shunned Shy over his choice of woman. The way I see it, if it wasn't meant to be, then they wouldn't last long. However, if it was, then time would tell if he made the right choice. I'm glad Willow was able to get the opportunity to spend a little time with her though. Mod and his tactics for acquiring a baby mama was disturbing, and he needed justice to be served to him no matter how much money he has. Dude isn't fit to be with anybody, nor does he need any sons to pass his genetic DNA to. I also feel like Baron should have knew Samad was lying about Shy trying to take over, because he had already given Shy the business when he turned 18 and they flew out there the first time. He decided then and there on that plane he was handing the business over, so he should have known that Samad was lying about that. Thing is, I feel like this book has the saddest ending ever, but it was also romantic, displaying the ultimate devotion. And that is so sweet. True ride or dies till the end. This is basically all I have to say about this book. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. We will start on Murderville 2 immediately. I do want to say that I'm going to start making my book reviews just once a week instead of twice a week for right now, because my schedule is getting really hectic. I have a lot going on, and my life been kind of turned upside down. So y'all bear with me until I get this together. But yeah, guys, I do want to thank you all so much for stopping by today. I really appreciate your time and energy. I hope to see you all on the next video. Peace and love. And as always,
DJ Mike C on the track.
Cause that be natural.
Lady
I ain't looking tacky. I keep my game tactful.
Yo,
Yeah, I'm so nappy.
M.O.B.
Cause that be natural.
The
I ain't
infamous.
looking tacky. Cause I keep my game tactful.
I'm so pretty, I'm so faboo, I'm so natural, it's like it's a taboo. I'm so filthy, got the tattoo, fucking these bitches like I own ragu. On my business with my platoon, getting these minutes like I'm a typhoon. Y'all is cheering on that cartoon, and I'm sitting on top of these buffoons. I'm so nappy, I'm so nappy. All these dudes that wanna get at me, I'm so cultured and I'm happy. Jealous witches wanna combat me, cause I'm comfortable in my skin. End of the day, you lose, I win. I'm so profitable in my ends, don't care if I make or lose a few friends. And I look like $1 trillion. Lady, we won a lotto, cause in the Lord I trust. And beauty is the motto. Naturally dick in the butt, I'm Billy Blanks on the Tabo. Edges a little rough, just pretend I'm from Morocco. Or get all up in my hair, cause I let my locks grow naturally. My curls popping everywhere, I'm maximizing on this natural thing. Like it or not,